Welcome to the Parenting Successful Teens, the podcast that cuts through the overwhelm and stress of this phase and offers parents simple, practical, cognitive, science-based strategies for keeping their teens on track. Join Master Coach and real-life mom, Allie Irwin, to talk about real teens, real problems, and the skills it takes to raise successful adults.
I called my brother today, and I knew the call would be annoying, but I didn't expect what actually happened. My mom's Facebook account had been hacked, and I wanted him to know so that he could go over and reset her password. So I took a deep breath, and I dialed the phone, and I braced myself. So it went something like this. Hey, Jeff, it's Allie. Hi, I think you have the wrong number. Is this Jeff? Yes. Who's this? It's Allie. I think you have the wrong number. Wait, but this is Jeff, right? Jeff Smith? Yes. Who is this? It's Allie. What? Your sister. Sorry, I didn't recognize the number. I thought you were a telemarketer. Long silence. I'm surprised you don't have this number. I've had it for 16 years. Implication that that my phone number is somehow wrong, that I have the phone number of a telemarketer. When I relayed this story to my friends, they all immediately jumped in with similarly crazy family stories, which leads me to today's episode. If you're listening from outside of the United States, today is the American holiday, Thanksgiving. And it's kind of the unofficial kickoff of the holiday season, which runs from Thanksgiving to New Year's. And in a way, that's not really a thing anymore because in the United States, there have been Christmas decorations out since September. But in another way, it is the kickoff of the holiday season because it's the start of lots of extended family gatherings. And with extended family gatherings, you have extended family drama. Family dinners end up for a lot of people being a complicated mess of judgment, burned rolls, and way too much wine to soothe frayed nerves. And I get it. I really, really do. So if you're listening to this today and you're headed to a family gathering, or maybe you've got one sometime this weekend, I have a fun suggestion to make it better. And that is dysfunctional family bingo. This game was created by my mentor, Martha Beck, and I'm so excited to share it with you today, and I'm going to add my own little twist into it. The idea of the game is that you grab a sheet of paper and create your own bingo board. So you just take whatever piece of paper you have laying around, and you draw a big rectangle on it, and you divide it into 25 squares. Okay, I've attached a sample and a blank one in the show notes. So if you want to see one, if you want to know what I'm talking about, but they're pretty easy to make from any old sheet of paper. Here's the special twist. It looks essentially like a bingo board, but instead of random numbers, you fill in all the squares with things that are likely to happen at your family gathering. Things like a snarky comment about your outfit, a long, boring story about someone you've never met that you're only vaguely related to. One of those kind of must be nice comments. Or someone asking you a question and then interrupting your answer with their own answer to the question, which causes you to realize that they weren't really asking in the first place. They were just trying to set up an opportunity to brag. Some food item gets burned, or it's totally forgotten to set that item out. Or comments about what you're eating or not eating or should be eating. The list really goes on. And once you get started, you will easily fill up your squares. Now, here's the fun part. You grab a friend and you have them make a board as well. And the way to make it the most fun is to really think about the situations in your family that push your buttons. Because here's what's going to happen. When those situations happen, you secretly mark them off on your bingo board. You play this with a friend, you mark off all day long all the crazy shit that happens in your family. And when you get bingo, you text your friend and tell them you have bingo. And whoever gets bingo first gets a prize. And that prize is maybe a coffee or a lunch date. Maybe it's a glass of wine. And you both bring your boards and you talk about what happened. You celebrate whose family was most predictably dysfunctional. You take what used to feel like a losing situation and you turn it into a game. And let me give you a little neuroscience behind why this is helpful and why it's actually a kindness to everyone involved. It sounds like kind of a snarky way to spend the day, but it's not. It's actually a kindness to everyone involved. And let me tell you why. When you make a list of everything you think might go wrong, you are changing how you think about those activities. Instead of thinking, my mom should be proud of me, you think things like, my mom would probably tell me how this outfit would be better if I wore different shoes. Instead of expecting your family to be different, idealized versions of themselves, you expect your family to be exactly who they are. And that's a gift because it takes you from a clenched, braced against the worst state into a more relaxed state. From fighting reality into accepting reality. If I had gone into that phone call amused and curious and wondering like, oh, I know this is going to go badly, but I wonder how. I wonder what's going to happen. I would have been amused when my brother literally thought I was a telemarketer. Instead of hanging up the phone and feeling crushed that I'm not even in my brother's contact lists, like that list where you keep the pizza delivery guy, like I don't even make that list. Instead of being upset about that, I would have been amused. So let's play out how this works for a minute. So you think that your sister-in-law should be less of a know-it-all. And every time she makes a comment, you sigh and say nothing or even mentally roll your eyes. And she goes on. And you get more and more irritated with her know-it-all-ness. Or say you take a different route and you argue with her. And then she literally goes into overdrive to explain why she's right and you're wrong. Okay, you're engaged in kind of like a negative tug of war there, where each side ends up digging in and more frustrated. You'll notice with my example that no matter which choice you make, she essentially makes the same choice. Like if you say nothing and internally roll your eyes, she goes on. And if you argue with her, she goes on. In either way, she goes on and you end up increasingly frustrated. But if you were to get a bingo square when she launched into an explanation of why the ukulele was a battle instrument for Hawaiian warriors, then you would be amused. And the more she went on, the more charmed you would be as you thought about telling your friend the story over coffee. Okay? The same thing is going to play out whether you're annoyed or amused. She's going to tell the same story. But what happens when you decide ahead of time that you're going to be amused by this and that you're going to collect these stories like a social anthropologist and you're going to have so much good stuff to talk about over your cup of coffee with your friend, then you're going to be delighted and you're going to have such a better day. Or when your brother-in-law makes a comment about your cute black velvet blazer and tells you that black is something that people only wear for funerals. Before bingo, I went into judgment mode. Like I was pissed off. I'd gotten up and I was so excited to wear my new jacket and I felt super cute. And I got there. And when he said that black was only for funerals, I was angry. And I started thinking, like, who are you to judge me? Like, what are you wearing? And then I was mad at him, like, for the rest of the meal. But post bingo, when he said things like that, I would just smile and think, right on cue, and mark off my square. In fact, I was almost disappointed when he didn't say anything because I was so sure that he would, that I had placed that bingo square in a key spot. Can you hear in my voice? Like it went from one comment like that could ruin the meal for me. When I adjusted my thinking and turned it into a game and made it fun that he was going to say things like that, then I was just amused and delighted, and it didn't ruin my meal at all. And I went from having a terrible time to having a good time. It's actually a kindness to expect people to be who they are. And it's really not about lowering your expectations, because that presupposes that your way is the right way, that it's better. And it's not. It's just your way. Their way is better for them. And truth be told, you are doing things all day long that are annoying them. And so in this way, when you expect them to be themselves, then you're also letting yourself off the hook. You can expect yourself to be you as well. I would suggest that you add a couple of bingo squares for the crazy stuff that you are likely to do throughout the day. Maybe it's take a piece of pie when you don't really want pie, but you don't want to upset your aunt's feelings. Or maybe it's escaping to the kids' table because there's some heated political argument going on. If there are behaviors that you do every year that bother you about yourself, my suggestion is to let yourself off the hook and add yourself to the family bingo board. If every year you say something like, well, I read in the New York Times, and it sets off some sort of political argument, and then you regret it later, or you think, why did I bring that up? I should have known it was going to lead to a fight. Go ahead and add yourself to the board. Because really what dysfunctional family bingo is about is just accepting people for who they are. There's a really great episode of The Gilmore Girls where the main character, Lorelai's mom, is coming to her in a panic because the super judgmental grandmother is coming to visit. So Emily's the mom, and she's trying to spruce up Lorelai's house so that the judgmental grandmother won't judge Emily. And in this way, you start to see that judgment is passed down from generation to generation. Emily feels like she doesn't have a choice but to try to control Lorelai's behavior because she's afraid of the grandmother's judgment. So Emily in herself becomes judgmental to avoid judgment. Can you see how that gets passed down like a family legacy? And what's great about this scene is Lorelai interrupts that pattern because she can see how it's getting passed down, and she expects her mother to be exactly who she is. She expects her mother to judge her. But in this scene, she lets her in on a little secret. So here's how it goes. Lorelai says, Mom, if I may, I'd like to give you some advice. You need to develop a defense mechanism for dealing with Grandma. You need a system. Take me, for example. I know there are many things in my life that you don't approve of, like this couch. The mom says, well, this couch is terrible. Lorelai says, okay, good. You think the couch is terrible. And at one point in my life, you saying a couch that I carefully picked out and had to pay off over 8 months is terrible might have hurt my feelings, but not anymore. Why not? Because one day I decided that instead of being hurt and upset by your disapproval, I'm going to be amused. I'm going to find it funny. I'm even going to take a little bit of pleasure in it. You take pleasure in my disapproval? I encourage it sometimes just for a laugh. I don't know what to think about that. Think, hey, that's brilliant because this idea could set you free. That's exactly what I'm talking about here, too, is the idea that bingo could set you free. The idea of on purpose being amused by things that used to hurt and upset you. I'm talking about giving yourself a system to get through your family gatherings. Or maybe for you, family gatherings are great, but it's your husband's office Christmas party that drives you crazy. You can do the same thing at any gathering. Any event that you're going to that you think ahead of time is going to be difficult, play bingo with a friend, okay? Give yourself a square when someone talks about expense reports or whatever it is, or there's bad music, or there are inside jokes, or someone talks in acronyms, you can use this for any event. I've tried this and it actually works. Sometimes, like Lorelai, I actually court a little disapproval. I've got some new Stila glitter eyeshadow that I love. I think it looks really pretty, but it definitely stands in contrast to all of my Midwestern salt of the earth upbringing. I'm looking forward to getting a little comment on it. I'll actually be a little disappointed if I don't. Why? Because I'll get a square for it. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I'm so thankful for you. And if you think this episode is going to be helpful, if you think it sounds like fun, grab a friend, share the episode, make a bingo board together, share a glass of wine, and talk about all your crazy family stories, and enjoy. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to Parenting Successful Teens. If you enjoyed today's show, please head over to allieirwin.com/talk, where you'll find a free guide that teaches you 5 different ways to get your teenagers to tell you about their day. Grab the guide and start having better conversations today.